Hi, welcome back to my channel. My name is Bailey, and today we are going to be talking about my July wrap-up and my August TBR. So let's get right on into it. So let me pull up. I am so proud of myself because I did really good on my TBR. The only ones I didn't read were the Academy that I had on there. The Academy by Ellen Hildebrandt and her daughter. And then Baking Under the Mistletoe, because I just wanted to save those for like September and Christmas time. So those are the only ones I didn't read. So let's get on into what I did read, because I was obsessed with everything that I read this month. The first one I read was The Short Second Life of Bree Tanner. This is a little novella that takes place during eclipse. This is about one of the little side characters, and so we get her kind of becoming a vampire and what she does to kind of cope with her new life, essentially. And then I listened to The Fear. That was so good. So it was about there's this Instagram post that started circulating around, and it was essentially wanting people to tell the way they feared dying, like how they didn't want their biggest fear for dying. And I think that's the right wording for it. But then people would repost it with their fears and everything, and then people started dying like that. And then it's kind of just figuring out how, like, who it was and why they were doing it. But you also get the killer's voice, which is also super cool. And it definitely gave me like a Good Girl's Guide to Murder vibe. If you like that book, you should definitely read that book. Read The Fear, because it was so good. So good. And then I listened to also Valley of the Moms. I want to say it's a newer release. It is about these suburban moms in Massachusetts, and they're like super rich, and then this one mom starts uncovering things from the like PTA people, and then she ends up dying, and then it's kind of her husband uncovering everything and kind of figuring out what happened. So that one was really good. I read a lot of like mysteries, I would say, this month, which was super fun. And then I read The Villa by Rachel Hawkins. I had so much fun reading this. It is about two best friends who go to a villa in Italy, and it's almost like a writer's retreat for them, but also just kind of them coming back together. They're childhood best friends, and they go there, but there was also a murder that happened there, and so they go there, and then one of them, the main character of the book, the main voice you like read, she kind of starts uncovering things that happened that summer that the people were in the villa that they were staying at. And you also get the voice of one of the girlfriends of the rock stars that were there. You get her voice. And the people who were there when the whole murder took place were a group of rock stars, and then one of their girlfriends and her stepsister. And so you get both of the timelines, and it was just really fun. It was like a cozy mystery, but there's also mention of child loss in here, so definitely go in kind of knowing that, just so you're not blindsided if that's kind of a triggering topic for you. And then I read Atmosphere by Taylor Jenkins Reid. This is my first Taylor Jenkins Reid book that I have ever read, and oh my goodness, I'm not even like someone who loves like astronomy and science and all that kind of stuff. Like, the first sci-fi I read was Project Hail Mary. Loved that book. Did I understand anything they were talking about? Not really, but I still had fun. This, I was like locked in, and like every single page was just so good, and like there was poetry, and it was like, it is about our main character Joan, and then she meets like a bunch of people who are going to try to be astronauts, and so they are like going through the program and seeing if they're gonna make it to go to NASA and do all the things. And then it's like found family, there's love, there's finding herself, there's family drama, and so amazing, so amazing. Like, I am an oldest sister, she's an oldest sister, and so just having that connection was just, in that sense, was so amazing, because I could feel for her as an older sister. She just wants what's best for her sister and her niece at the same time, and it was just, so in that sense, I loved it. It was so beautiful. I loved it. And then I read House Across the Lake by Riley Sager. This was so cool. It's about Casey, mainly. She's kind of going through it right now. Her husband died, I don't know if it tells how long. Recently, her husband died, and then her whole family has this like lake house in, I can't remember where, but somewhere in like, I don't know, like, I want to say maybe Massachusetts. Let me see. In Vermont. So she goes to her family's lake house in Vermont to kind of be secluded from life, because she's kind of like a celebrity. And then she saves this woman who is like drowning, and then there's something that happens, and she just kind of tries to uncover everything. And then the plot twist in here, I literally didn't even see coming whatsoever. Like, it was just like completely out of left field, but I loved it nonetheless. So this was super, super fun to read. Definitely, if you're like wanting a summer ween type of book, this is definitely one that I would pick up. But also like for like October time, fall time, this is definitely the book to pick up if you haven't read it. And then I read The 5-Star Weekend by Ellen Hildebrandt. I read this because of the show that came out, and I loved it. It was so beautiful. I want to say she writes women's fiction, which I love. You know, I love a good like women's story, like friendship, which this was it. So she is, I don't even remember what her like name was, but our main character, her husband died, and then she reads on a blog about this person who did it's called the 5-Star Weekend, where she brought 4 of her best friends from each point in her life, and then they just had this whole weekend where they spent time together and kind of did things to kind of helped her with her grief. And so it was so beautiful, because you see her kind of growing, and as well as her relationship growing with her daughter. And then also her friends also have so much going on in their own life. So you read that, and then that comes through in like their day-to-day, obviously, because they're spending time together and they're getting almost reacquainted with each other for being away from each other for so long. And also there's like a little bit of romance in there, but also it's like, also it takes place in Nantucket, which was so beautifully described. So I love that. And it felt like Nantucket was almost like the narrator of the story. You didn't really you got in their heads, but it was almost like the Nantucket was explaining everything, which was so cool. And that's a different kind of I went like a different take than I've ever read a book. So that was super cool. And then I read Phoebe Berman Is Gonna Lose It by Brooke Averick. This book, oh my gosh. So I'm gonna read this so I don't get it incorrect. Let's see. So we have Phoebe Berman. She is turning 30 and she is a virgin. She has She has intimacy anxiety. And so like every time she's gonna like kiss a boy or like gets close to that with a boy, she throws up. And so like I feel that for sure. And so she's turning 30 in a month and she's kind of done with feeling how she's feeling. And so she makes a plan to lose it in 30 days. And then she has 3 different, I would say, prospects for it. But it's so cute. It's fun. It's light. But also there's talk about anxiety and OCD and different kind of things like that, which I think are so amazing. And her family is so supportive. And it's so cute. And she's she's a pre-K teacher, which is so adorable. And it's based in LA, which is so atmospheric and cute. So, love this book. And then, let's see, what else did I read? And then I read Our Perfect Storm, and I loved that book. Loved that book so much. It was so stinking cute. So it's about Frankie and George. They are childhood best friends. They met when they were 8. And then the day, so Frankie's getting married, not to George, but like to, his name is Nate. And the day before her wedding, she wakes up and there's a post-it note from the hotel that they're staying at with the post-its from there saying that he can't do it, and they're calls off the wedding essentially. And so she gets very down on herself, and all of her friends are like, go on your honeymoon and everything. And so she does, and she brings George with her, and then it's just beautiful. And you get past and present timeline kind of meshing to show their friendship and everything like that, which is it was so good. It was so good. And then I read The Summer of Broken Rules. It was so cute. It was so stinking cute. So it was about Meredith and her sister, and you find this out in the first chapter. Her sister had died, and she's going through her cousin's wedding, and her boyfriend just broke up with her, and so she's very hurt and everything like that. And so she kind of is just down, and then she's kind of well, I'm going for my cousin. And she goes there, and her whole family and friends are there, and so they're all just kind of loving on all of them, which I loved. And she literally runs into Whit, who is Sarah, who is Meredith's cousin, her stepbrother. And so they kind of have that little meet cute, I would say. And then the whole story kind of bases around this game of assassin, which is so cute. And so it's just her kind of learning to laugh again and feel light and everything. And it's just so cute. So, so, so cute. And okay, this next book that I'm going to talk about, oh my gosh. Picking Daisies on Sundays. I read this on a Sunday and I was like, why not read it now? Because it's Picking Daisies on Sundays. It is so cute. So you have Danielle, but people, her like friends and everything call her Daisy. And you also have Levi, who is the one who calls her Daisy. So years ago, something happened between them and she hadn't seen him for 4 years. And then she runs into him at a bar and they're talking, and then his ex walks up and she's like, oh, hi. And he's like, oh yeah, we're going to the wedding of my sister and this is my girlfriend, Danny. And so it's just kind of like them rekindling their friendship and everything like that. And then just, it's so cute because, and it wasn't like a past and present timeline, which in like a book like that I haven't read, but I really enjoyed. And it was so cute. It was so cute and I loved it. I loved it so much. And if you read it, I'm not even gonna say anything. It's adorable. It's adorable. 10 out of 10 recommend. And then the final book I read was The Hating Game. So this has been on my like TBR forever. And so I'm so happy that I got to read it. It was so cute. You have, oh my gosh, I literally just read this. How am I forgetting their sticking names? You have Josh and Lucy, and they are like pretty much almost right under the like big bosses of the company, the publishing company that they work at. And they just hate each other. They just cannot get along. They do these games and it's just like the other one has to win. And then it's so cute. I don't really know how else to explain it but that. And they also have, so actually there's a like promotion that comes available to the people who work there and also external applicants, to where they could be like see the chief operating officer of the publishing company. And so they both want that, and so they're both kind of like gunning for that as well. And so there's that added layer and everything like that. It's so cute. I loved that book. And so that is everything that I read in July. Now let's talk about my August TBR. All right, so now I have like almost 2 piles over here. So I have ones that I definitely am going to get to, and then the other ones are kind of like just if I have time. So the first one I have is Better Than the Movies by Len Painter. I love Len Painter. I read Betting on You, and that was one of my favorite books that I read, and so I'm very excited. I also just kind of rapid fire these because I don't really know what they're about essentially, but I kind of like going into books blind because I just kind of don't want to form my own opinion on everything. Next, I have Funny Story by Emily Henry. I have been dying to read this as well, so I'm super excited about that. And then I have My Friends by Frederick Bachman. I have never read anything that he's written, and I am so excited to dive into his writing because I have heard so many amazing things about his writing. So I am pumped to read this. And then Just for the Summer by Abby Jimenez. I loved Part of Your World by Abby Jimenez, and that was the first one that I have ever read by her. And so I am so excited to read this book. And then I have 1,000 Boy Kisses by Tilly Cole. I am excited because my friend said I don't know if she finished it, but she said she loved what she did read of it. And so I am super, super, super excited about this book. And then Yesteryear by Caro Claire Burke. I mean, everyone kind of knows about this book, so I am very, very excited to pick this up and get into it. And then the next few are just kind of like if I have time. Hopefully I can get into all of these. You Deserve to Know by Aggie Bloom Thompson. This is coming into a movie with Nina Dobrev and Paul Wesley, and so I'm like, I want to read this before the movie or TV, I don't know if it's a movie or TV show, but one of the two comes out, and so hopefully gonna get to this. And then Tangled Up in You by Christina Lauren. I think I read two Christina Lauren books. The Paradise Problem and, oh my gosh, I want to say In a Holidays that they wrote. I loved it. Those were so good. Like, their writing is so easily digestible and just you can fly through the books, and so I'm very excited. I know this is like inspired by Tangled, which Tangled is my favorite Disney movie, and so I'm very excited about this one. And then also Love and Other Words by Christina Lauren. I don't really know like I said, don't know what the plot is with this book, but I do know that people love this book, and so I'm very, very, very excited to get into that one. And then I just saw this and I was very intrigued. So this is The Showgirl by Nicola Harrison. I just know that it's a girl who, in 1927, Olive McCormick moves from Minneapolis to New York City. And so that seems like, I'm excited to kind of see what this is all about. I don't know if it's going to be romance. It does say so it's going to be a romance, and so I'm excited. I really want to get into more like literary fiction or those kind of vibes, and like I loved 5 Star Weekend, and I don't know if there's another one that I read off the top of my head that I can but I have been really getting into those, and so I really kind of want to get into that, and that's kind of what I feel like this vibe is going to be. And so I'm super excited about all of the books that I have possibly to read this month. And that is it for all of the books that I hope to read this month and my July wrap up. So thank you so much for watching, and I hope you enjoyed, and I hope to see you in my next video. Bye.